Okay, so this training video is about proper positioning for sleeping. We'll go through supine, side lying, and prone. So first thing would be supine. The first thing I do is ask the patient, what position do you prefer to sleep in, or do you typically sleep in? And then I have them set themselves up in that position and show me how they set themselves up first, and then work from there. So Diane's gonna be our pretend patient. Just for the sake of the video, we're gonna go supine, then side lying, then prone. So she's gonna tell me supine's her favorite position. So I'm gonna say, go ahead and lay down and put yourself how you normally sleep at home. Like, how many pillows do you use, and where do you put your feet, and all that fun stuff. Ouch. So we use one pillow. Okay.
Like this, yeah.
So the principles that you want to teach your patient is to support their spine. That is the ultimate goal, and to support their limbs while they're sleeping. The pillow that you emphasize for your patient will be dependent on where their injury's at. So are you trying to support their head and neck? Are you trying to support a shoulder or an elbow or a wrist? A low back, a hip, knee, foot, ankle. Okay, so this patient, let's say for this demo that we're focusing on head and neck and shoulder, that's the injury. So the general principles is that you want your pillows and your bed to be supporting your spine in neutral and supporting your limbs in a position where they can fully rest, so that you're resting those muscles and limb during that time that you're sleeping. So when you're on your back, for the pillow at the head, the material of the pillow really is patient preference. That doesn't necessarily have a black and white recommendation. But the thing that is important is how thick or thin that pillow is compared to the firmness or softness of their mattress. Your goal is that you're keeping the spine in neutral. So if Diane had set herself up and she's like, I normally use 2 pillows at my head, and this is how I sleep, we can see clearly. Come around this way for me, Lily. You could see clearly that her head is not in neutral. That puts her head into a flexed position. So that's not ideal. Really, we want our head pillow to really just fill in the space between where her back hits the bed and the curvature of the neck. And for some people, that may be very few pillows. For other people with like rounded forward head, rounded shoulder position, that could be more pillows. For a firmer mattress, you'll typically need more pillow support. For a softer mattress, because they sink into it, you'll need usually a thinner pillow. So for her head, she set herself up like this. I would have recommended, let's go down to 1 pillow. Okay. And so now I can see that her spine is in neutral. She's not kicked too far into flexion. She's not kicked too far into extension. The other thing I educate my patients is not to try to break a habit of rotating their head one way or the other, or side bending their head one way or the other while they sleep, because again, we're not in neutral then. We're not resting the joints or the muscles or the ligaments on one side or the other. So if they only get one thing out of the whole demo with you, the head pillow is by far the most important. Okay. So as we move down the spine, if this was an arm injury, you could, let's say this, again, we use shoulder as an example. Let's say her left shoulder is also injured, and so we want to support that shoulder. We want to make sure, again, first off, head and neck is in a good position, because I could support the shoulder all day long, and if their head is in a weird position, they're not going to get rest. So the patient, this is again a little bit of patient preference depending on their body type. If they're very rounded in their shoulders, you may need to fill in the space or the gap that's created between their shoulder and the bed. So a pillow under the shoulder might be ideal for that patient. Diane, that's not the case. She's not very rounded in her shoulder. Her arm rests nicely on the bed without any support. So for her, I might choose to put a pillow along the length of her arm instead, so that her whole arm is supported, shoulder to fingers. Okay. Some people will put pillows here but not do them ideal. I've had patients tell me, they put a pillow like this, and it's like, okay, that's a good start, it's better than nothing, but her shoulder's not supported in this position. So really spinning it a little bit, going along the whole length of the arm and making sure that pillow covers elbow and fingers as well is ideal there. If they don't have a shoulder injury, they may decide, I don't need this pillow, that's fine. I can kind of put my arms on my stomach or my side and I'm okay. I'm gonna skip the low back for a second. Let's go to the lower limbs. At a minimum, when someone's on their in a supine position, you definitely want to support the lower body. Depending on how tall they are, I recommend sometimes a body pillow, like the longer pillow for the legs if they have really long legs. Or if there's someone who likes to be kind of sprawled out in the middle of the night, they may need 2 pillows down here. They might need a pillow for each limb. The common inadequate way to support the legs is a lot of people will just stick a pillow under their knees. Okay, again, better than nothing, but not totally supportive or ideal. Ideal is to spin that pillow and support the legs all the way from the ischial tuberosities down to the foot and ankle. You can see down here, her foot and ankle are kind of like hanging off here. She's not completely supported still. So that's where, again, those like body pillows or maybe like a king size pillow like comes in handy for people with longer legs. Because ideally that pillow support should extend all the way. She's got her shoe on, but her heel would be hanging and floating without a shoe on, right? So ideally you want that person, and I might roll this one more time. You want that person to have their whole leg supported, heels floating, so, you know, avoiding pressure ulcers and that. So that would be the minimum support I would recommend in supine, is the head pillow and the leg pillow. Last thing we'll touch on in this position is a lumbar spine support. So some people have a really lordotic lumbar spine and they need this space in here filled in order to really be comfortable. The leg pillow will help immensely because that's going to put them into a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt and take up some of that space. But if that's not enough, they can take a towel, like not a bath towel, but you know, medium size, bigger than a hand towel, smaller than a bath towel. Okay, and what they want to do is fold it up to be about like that. Okay, so about like the width of the lumbar spine. They can stick this underneath the spine. I'm just going to do a quick bridge so I can slide it in. Okay, and then scrunch together to take up the slack. The scrunching is important. Okay, we don't want to create a roll. This is what some people do is, oh, I put a little roll under my back. Well, that's creating a fulcrum all night long that your spine is being bent over. Your spine is going to get really angry at you if you do that. Okay, so instead, you're going to put it underneath their back and they're going to scrunch. So they're filling in the space like this as opposed to a roll. Okay, so then what I do with my patient is I get them set up where I know that the limb or joint that is important to off weight is rested. So again, in our example, it was the head and the shoulder. And I say, okay, close your eyes, pretend you're sleeping, and I want you to take note of how these pillows feel and how you feel right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly pull away one support at a time so they can see the difference between how they set themselves up and how we would recommend they set themselves up at night. This is where the big impact comes in when you're doing your education. Don't skip this part, okay? Because otherwise your patients are going to look at you and be like, you're nuts. I don't have that many extra pillows, and this is a lot of extra time, okay? They get the value right here. So Diane, you just relax. I'm going to start taking these supports away so you can feel the difference and you can feel which pillows are most important to you.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm going to take her foot support away first. Can you feel a difference there?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay. I'm going to take the whole leg support away.
Yep.
Big difference there? Okay. I'm going to pull out her back support. Okay. That one's not too bad? Okay. Now I'm going to take away, again, she's got an injured arm is the example.
I guess, yes.
So that one will then usually be like ugh, that's terrible. Give me that back.
Yep.
And then if she was the 2-pillow example, I'd be like, here, and this is how you were sleeping before. With your head flexed up. Okay? So that's supine.